This episode had played in my mind a couple of times, and in my attempt to make it sound really perfect, I just ended up wasting a lot of recording and a lot of time redoing it. I don't know why I want to make it perfect. The thing is, I just have to be authentic in these episodes so that we both of us would be able to understand what makes relationships stick, and so that we can strip them to a bare minimum that relationships would become enjoyable again. My name is Lee, and this is season 2 of Decapitated Thoughts. I've been trying to cut down whatever I want to say, and I don't know how many times I've re recorded this now, but it's fine. I meant what I said over the intro. I really wanted something perfect. Yeah. But you know what? I can't do that. I can't do that. It doesn't sound authentic. So I've written scripts. I've written a whole essay, but and I've already recorded some of it. Then I realized that it's not what I want you to hear. It's not what I want to share, and that's not how I want to sound. Because number one, I'm not a motivational speaker, so it doesn't sound like me at all. I want our conversations to be authentic. Like, why are we here? Why are we even talking about these things? Because honestly, these are the things that you would want to talk about to your friends: jealousy, overthinking, open relationships. But you don't really go far from it. You don't really go anywhere from it, because at the end, somebody's gonna rain on your parade and tell you that you're just imagining things and that you're really a jealous person, and that feels fake because you know that you're not, but people will convince you otherwise. So these conversations, these topics that we had for season 1, those are the topics that most of us, if not all, are having a hard time talking about. Honestly, I was only able to express myself through this podcast about those topics. When season 1 ended, or when we ended season 1, I had a whole bunch of outlines for season 2, how I would want it to go. We're still going to have our interviews. Um it's just that season 2 would be a longer season than season 1. We'll have more episodes, and we'll be talking about the 8 kinds of love, because we need to get to the basics. I mean, even when I do tech trainings, or when I do trainings, even before, um, you always go back to the basic before you explore some other things, because that's where you start understanding, and that's where you start building up ideas and things like that. And so I thought, why not start with the 8 types of love? That's what we're going to go through this season together with our guests. But they're not going to be talking about a certain topic. They're going to be answering questions that would be fun. And these questions were taken from season 1. No, it's not a quiz. It's not a quiz whether they listen to season 1 or not. It's just really more of, I want to hear, no, we all want to hear a different side. So, as much as possible, I tapped people who are very different, with a different points of views, so they would be able to tell us more about what they think about, like, for example, physical attraction, or is it okay to overthink when you're in a relationship, or are sexual fantasies okay? So we want to explore those ideas, but this time, not according to books, not according to blogs or websites or anything like that, but according to real people who had real experiences in life, just like you and me, stranger. The problem with the first recordings that I made for this episode is that I sounded like a preacher. No, I sounded like a motivational speaker. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against them. It's just not me. It's just not authentic. And how can I bring the conversation or these conversations out if I can't even sound authentic? Sometimes when we look for perfection, that's what we end up with. Something that feels a little fake, or that feels something less authentic. So I decided to redo and re record it. And I don't know how many takes I've done, but it doesn't really matter, does it? It's so long as we're having this conversation, stranger, I am just really happy. Did I also say that these are the topics that we don't want to talk to our friends? No, I actually did prepare some scripts for this, and when I was just listening back to myself, I was like, okay, that's not how I want to sound. Um, I I know that I've said it from some episodes in season one. I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to change your mind about something. I'm just here to share what I have found out. And sometimes, because I know how it feels, I know how weird it feels, like when you're experiencing something and you're trying to look for someone or something that directly or indirectly resonates to your situation, and then there's just nothing. Because sometimes when you look at self-help stuff, they would tell you, or they make it seem like it's so easy to go through certain things in life when it's really not. So sometimes you're just looking for that very human application of these ideas, these theories, these things, and there's not a place where you can find it. And I think that's why in a lot of speeches now, or in a lot of talks now, or in a lot of shows, they would be promoting vulnerability, or the idea of being vulnerable at times, and how it is much of a power rather than a weakness. It's because, you know, recent years, or from the past years, rather, not recent years, but from the past years, we've all been textbooked, if that's even a term. Um, when an idea is presented, it's very it has to sound very positive. There is actually a thing as toxic positivity, and it makes the idea so unreachable that a lot of people would just end up not doing it, or not believing it, or not even trying it, or not even trying to listen to it, because it sounds so distant from what we feel. And I certainly don't want to sound like that. Just like you, human being. I am a human being with the same emotion. Although sometimes to a lot of my friends, I do sound like a robot, just like how Jin had perceived me. But you know, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now, before I go on and talk about and give you an introduction to the eight types of love as defined by the Greeks, there was an app that I downloaded early this year. Not really early this year, I guess, a month or 2 months ago. And it really helped me out with unloading a lot of things from my mind. Still is helping me. I'm not very good with processing my emotions, but since nobody knows me there, and if I write something, people are just really supportive. And these are not toxic support, they are really supportive. And I don't use the app every day. I use it as much as I can, and I'm using it to give back to others. Just gently reminding people how important they are. But I offer no answer to certain questions because I just don't really know. There was one post that I made about a person being the manifestation of God's miracle. It could be God or whoever is your divinity. And on the comments, I found one very existential question, which is how is he or she? I don't even know if he is a he or she is a she, of how this person was a miracle. Honestly, for the first time, I answered it in the most human way possible. I told that person I don't know the answer to their question. I mean, I felt the urge of coming up with something nice sounding, something epic sounding, like what most of us would do. But I really did just end up saying, I don't know. I don't know how you are a miracle. I don't know. So I think that person appreciated that. We ended up exchanging a lot of things, a lot of thoughts, and a lot of ideas. This person ended up opening a little bit about what happened in the past. And I ended up concluding that this person already knows the answer. And so, in one of the comments, I said to go read up the comments that he or she made on the thread, because whatever advice he or she needs, she or he had already written it on the comments. And while I was doing that, or when I did that, rather, I went back to my own answer, and I did read on my own replies, and I realized the best person to give us advice would be ourselves. That's exactly what I told the person, to just go read what they have written on the thread, and they would find out that they were talking to themselves all this time. So, for you, user, unknown user, um, I dedicate the season for you, and I really hope you'd feel better, and I you deserve so much more. You have learned a lot, and I really pray you can be as happy as you can be. You can be your happiest, right? Okay, so that was a very long introduction. I'm so sorry. We can now go to um, to what we have for this season. It's demystifying a romantic relationship. So we're going back to the basics, and we would be learning about the eight types of love. I learned about this back in school. So we have a religion class back in grade school and high school. And this is one of the topics that we talked about. Honestly, when I was younger, it didn't really make any impact. I did not know where you're going to be using these information. But now, I think it's a way for us to understand whatever emotion or whatever things that we are going through in terms of relationships when we know about the different types of love. Talking about the 8 different types of love. Because the first type of love that we're going to talk about in the next episode is self love, which is philautia. So I've been honestly struggling with self love just like everybody else because I've always thought and I've always equated it with, or I've been equating it with narcissism. So what I found out is that self love is not narcissism, it's not having your ego as the center. So I've read a couple of years back. And I can't even remember the source, but I promise to look for it and give you the source if you need it. That love should be inclusive and not exclusive. That it should involve other people, that it should magnetize people towards you. And I also know, and you probably also know, that you cannot give what you don't have. So it all starts within the self. Although there was a TED talk that challenged that idea of I cannot give what I don't have. It was from a Japanese speaker, and we'll be referencing to him in the next episode. And he said that it's in loving others that we meet or that we start to love ourselves. It reminded me of an idea that I learned from Evangelion. So you do pick up some things from animes. They're not for they're not just for kids. So if you haven't seen Neon Genesis Evangelion, please do watch it. There was a concept there about meeting yourself or meeting a part of yourself through other people. And I don't know if it's just really a Japanese concept, but there's value in it. It's I've made some curious inquiries about that. It's an interesting concept that I meet a part of myself through other people. And this time it has been elevated. I love myself through other people. It makes sense because sometimes when you meet somebody and you're really happy with that person, not in particular that you're in a relationship with that person, um you say that this is the best of me, or this is the best part of me, and I like myself by being with this person. So it's a different part of you, or it's a different self that you're meeting. It's a different sort of a different identity, if you may, from your own persona, or a different persona. I think that's a better term. A different persona altogether. So these are the things that we will be exploring on the next episode. And I also learned that self love is knowing when shame ends, when guilt ends. And it's not just really staring at yourself in front of the mirror and telling yourself, I love you, you're beautiful, and you're all that. Because sometimes those can sound fake, and sometimes those can sound less authentic if we haven't really understood the idea of self love. By the way, before I go on to the other types of love, being in love and being in a relationship, those are two different things. You can be in love and not be in a relationship with the person that you love, or you can be in a relationship and not be in love with the person that you're in a relationship with. You can be tolerant in a relationship but not in love. So I just want to put it out there. So even in self love, it could be you're practicing certain things that would show self love, but you don't have a really good relationship with yourself. you know? And those are simply the things that are worth exploring because it all starts within us. And when we're done with self love, because in between these episodes, we will be having the guests who would be answering questions from inspired by the topics from season 1. So I don't know if this is going to be an episode 3. That depends on the availability of our guests. Of course, we want to respect their time. And if you want to be on the show, please do let me know. I'll give you now my email address. That's linotegami@gmail.com. LINOTEGAMI @gmail.com. We would love for you to be on the show, and we would love to hear what you think about these things and what you can share with the rest of us and what we can learn from you. Of course, we'd love that. So after self-love, let's explore as if we're exploring now, but we will be exploring more about storge or the familiar love. So this is more like the love of a parent to a child and a child to a parent. And it is really worth exploring because after yourself, what molds you would be family, and how your relationships or how you built relationships with your family can be or can affect the relationships you're going to have in the future. And I've been doing a lot of self realizations lately, and I found out certain things that kind of shattered a lot of the things that I made myself believe. And I would say made myself believe because I guess it is part of my brain trying to protect my sanity and trying to not convince, manipulate the way that I look at things regarding family. One, because I'm Filipino, two, because I'm Asian, and these things are really touchy feely topics. So we'll tread with caution in terms of that. And we will be discovering a lot about ourselves when we discover more about the types of relationship we had with our family. You'd be surprised of how much impact it would have had with the way that we express ourselves to other people. Um, it's it's interesting. So we will be talking about Storge. And then after that, we'll be talking about Ludus or the playful love. Who doesn't like flirting? I don't know. But I would be very honest with you. I like flirting. To me, it is an art form. And you can argue with me on that one, but it's really is an art form. To make someone look at you and suddenly they see someone who's really interesting, whether they were initially attracted to you physically or not. But when you start delivering certain lines, they would just like go, oh, wow. Okay, that blew my mind. Um, I like having conversations, and this is a way that I can express myself. And honestly, I like pickup lines. I think they're really smart. And we will be talking more about that when we talk about your playful love. So, this is like your the flirtatious um stage of love. You're not yet totally in love. You're not yet even getting the butterflies. You're just really excited for this. It's just really more of the teasing, seeing where it would lead kind of love. And we'll talk about that. Then we will be talking about how it develops or how it would go to a romantic love. So, when we talk about romantic love, again, different from romantic relationships, romantic love is what you feel, relationship is what you're in. Um, Two things. Okay, so romantic love is when you really start falling in love, when you start displaying or giving out, showing your affection. Um, This is when you start to have those, I don't know, expectations or daydreams of what you want to happen, and you just can't get enough of the person, right? So this is already that, where you want to be with that person all the time, where you want to hug that person all the time, or to cuddle with them, or to express how much you feel for that person. And you can also call it the passionate kind of love, from the name Eros. You know where it's taken from, right? Cupid, Eros, Cupid, Eros. Anyway, um, yeah. And then it will be developing to a more mature kind of love, which is the enduring love. So this is the middle part of your relationship, pragma. I don't know what's the secret with developing an enduring kind of love. When you look at those couples that had been together for a very long time, this is the kind of love that they have. And any type of love that you have that has matured over time, for any of the relationships you may have, that's already pragma. We'll be talking about that too this season. How how to make it last. I honestly don't know how you do it, but certainly there's a secret to it. There's something there that prolongs the relationship, whether you're bonded by a piece of paper or not. There's something there that makes you want to wake up and see this person every single day. It has been my question all of my life. I think I may have had answered a part of it, but I haven't truly answered everything about it. And it's fine because it's a journey, and I don't want to know about it now. I want to know about it one day at a time. And so we'll just be dipping our toes into the enduring love. All right. We will also be talking about philia, which is the affectionate love. And this is commonly referred to as your brotherly love, or the love that you have for friends. So it's more of the platonic kind of love. You care for this person, you don't want this person to be hurt, but it's not romantic. You know that this person adds joy to your life, and this person is important to you. Um, again, you want to care for this person. So that's your philia, and how important it is in our life. There was a TED talk also that I've listened to a couple of years back, where they had a lifelong experiment for happiness. And if I can remember clearly, their conclusion was the happiest people are the ones with good relationship, or who are able to maintain a good relationship with the people around them, or with their favorite people, or the important people in their lives. So this is one of those, the affectionate love, or philia. Now, there is a bad kind of love, and we'll also be talking about that. This is probably towards the end of your relationship, and for some, maybe it's not even the end. For some, their love starts here. It's called mania, or obsessive love. Now, we've all been here, whether you want to admit it or not. We've all been here. I've been here. I've been obsessed with someone. I don't want to know if someone had been obsessed with me. Um, I'm happy just to know that I've been obsessed with someone. But hey, you know what? If you know anyone who's a guru on this topic, or who's an expert on this topic, please do let me know. We would like to interview them. And if you had been in the situation where somebody was obsessed with you, or you had been obsessed with someone, please do let me know if you want to come on the show. I would love to give you a stage to talk about your experiences when it comes to this. Some things are better learned when we talk about real life experiences and how they play out in the real world. I can give you mine, but they're not as they're a little bit boring. They're not as big as I want them to be. But yeah, so if you are an expert to this stranger, please do let me know. I would love for you to be on the show. And the last kind of love, and I think this is the reason why we had this topic back in our religion class, is agape or selfless love. So this is your unconditional love. This is the kind of love that your saints, that your heroes would display. This is that kind of love. It's I haven't experienced it. So whatever I will be sharing here would be something out of a study, something that I learned from books as well. Because I don't know if for sure I am capable of giving that, but I'm not sure if I would ever get the chance to create something like that. Unconditional love. It is, I think for me, the idea of unconditional love is both scary. But that's why we're having these conversations, is for us to know whether it's something for us, whether it's something or what scares us about these kinds of things. And if there's something scary, what can we do about it? It's not going to be perfect, and that's fine, but at least we have an idea on how to get through it, right? Now, if you're wondering where I got these 8 different types of love, it's actually how the Greeks had um, categorized your love. Yeah, so they have defined it, and they probably had proven it at some point. When you go on to the net and you look for the 8 different types of love, there are so many literature about this. Sometimes they are defined a little bit different from each other, but they would be saying almost the same things. And to understand what kind of love we're going through is to better understand a part of ourselves. Like, how do we display affectionate love to our friends to maintain a good friendship or relationship with them? Or maybe it's just that kind of love that you feel for a person. So, how to break it to them. So, these are the kind of things that we're going to talk about in the next topics. Now, again, let me just repeat the idea that being in love is different from being in a relationship. Again, you can be a tolerant partner, but not somebody who's in love with a person. So, knowing where you're at would really help you. And in season 3, just to give you a teaser, in season 3, we'll talk about the language of love. But we are a lot of episodes far from season 3, because we're not just going to have 12 episodes for season 2. We're going to have a lot, because I would really want us to learn from other people as much as we can. So we're going to have a lot of, yeah. So we're going to have guests. I hope that I can get as much people to introduce to you. And these persons are not celebrities. Yeah, we really chose normal people just like you and me, having real emotions and normal experiences, because that's what's going to resonate with us. If we get somebody who would have the same idea and the same feeling. And so, stranger, I will be seeing you in the next episode. It's really nice to have you back, and I really missed you. I hope to see you soon. Hey there, stranger. Do you agree with what we have talked about today? Did you learn anything? Do you have a friend who might need this advice? Hmm, if you agree to all of those, don't miss an episode. Add this to your playlist and send this link to your friend. It was awesome having you today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Lee, and this is Decapitated Thoughts.